Viegsh, Elav Yehuda, Viyamer, Adonie, and Yehuda approached him and said, "Please, my master." The Maimer opens by connecting this to another pasuk. Kedis botenu arazim, again, our houses roofed with cedars, our beams are cypresses. This leads us to a fundamental question: what is the inner difference between the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash? The Mishkan was built mainly from wood, standing acacia beams, atzei shitim emdim. The coverings were made of goat hair, ram skins, and tachash skins. Earth was used only below, as the ground. The Beis Hamikdash, however, was the exact opposite, built primarily from stone and earth. Wood was forbidden as a visible structural element, as ruled by the Rambam in Hilchos Beis Bechira. Even the roof was stone. Cedar beams were used only as internal supports, secondary, not essential. So the question is sharp. Why is the Mishkan centered on wood, while the Beis Hamikdash is centered on stone and earth? In every world, there are four levels: Daimim, Tamech, Chai, Medaber, inanimate, earth, stone, plant life, animal life, and human. On the surface, this seems hierarchical. Plant is higher than stone, animal higher than plant, human highest of all. So then we ask, how can the earth, the lowest level, be the source of growth? Seif Maiseh b'machshava tchila. Chazal say that one opinion, Shemayim kadmul aretz, heaven came first. Another says, Eretz kadmul aretz, earth came first. And the Gemara concludes both are true. In actual creation, heaven precedes earth. In divine thought, earth comes first. Why? Because the end of action originates in the beginning of thought. Earth is the final product. Therefore, its root is at the highest. That is why the earth contains the power to generate all growth. Plants, animals, and humans all ultimately receive from it. Why the Mishkan was built from wood? The Mishkan was not yet the ultimate dwelling of Hashem, as the pasuk says, I walked in a tent and in a temporary dwelling. Therefore, it followed the order of spiritual descent. Heaven precedes earth. Growth precedes stillness. So the walls were made of wood. Tamech. The ground alone was earth. Daimim. The coverings were animal skins. Chai. Everything followed the normal chain of creation. Why the Beis Hamikdash was built from stone? The Beis Hamikdash was different. About it, the Torah says, "This is my resting place forever." It was a permanent dwelling, a taste of a future world, the state of existence that will be revealed in the 7th millennium. In that future state, earth rises above heaven, Malchus ascends above all levels, as the pasuk says, the woman of valor becomes the crown of her husband. That is why the Beis Hamikdash was built primarily from stone and earth. Even the roof was stone. The cedar beams were only supports, like the Tamchen Deraisa Torah as a support structure, not the essence. Earth and bittul. There is another deep reason. Earth is trampled by everything. It has no height, no self-assertion. This reflects bittul, self-nullification. That bittul comes from its root in divine thought, which is called ma. As Moshe said, v'nachanu ma. What are we? We are nothing. Because it is bittul, earth will ultimately be elevated above all. That is why the Beis Hamikdash had to be stone and earth, absolute bittul. This explains Yosef and Yehuda. Yosef means increase and expansion. He represents growth, semech, like a cedar that rises upward, as the pasuk says, Yehuda represents earth, daimim. His essence is Haidah, submission and bittul. Right now, in the order of creation, Yosef stands above Yehuda. Yosef was the ruler of Egypt, the one who provided sustenance to all. That is why the Torah says, Viegsh, Elav Yehuda. Yehuda approaches Yosef to receive from him. As the Torah says, this is the lower world approaching the higher world to receive flow. But in the future, the order reverses. In the future, Yehuda will rise above Yosef because his root comes earlier in divine thought. That is why the Navi says, V'yavdi David melech alehem. David from Yehuda will rule over all. And this is hinted to in the Haftarah, Kach l'cha eitz echad liYehuda ve'eitz echad liYosef. Two trees become one, absolute unity. That unity is the fulfillment of echad be'echad yigashu. This explains the Gemara about Yerav ben Avat. Hashem said to him, you and the son of Yishai will stroll together in Gan Eden. Yerav asked, Mi v'reish, who will be first? Hashem answered, Ben Yishai v'reish. Yerav said, if that is the case, I do not want it. Why? Because he lacked bittul. He could not accept Yehuda rising above Yosef. That arrogance expelled him. The final unity. But in the future, Yosef and Yehuda will unite completely, growth and bittul as one. That is the ultimate redemption, and that is the inner meaning of Vigash Elav Yehuda. Not just an approach, but the beginning of the final eternal union. Vayelakit Yosef is called Hakasef Hanimta Beretz Mitzrayim. Vayava Yosef is Hakasef Beisa Parei. And Yosef gathered all the money that was found in the land of Egypt, and Yosef brought the money into the house of Pare. Chazal say on this pasuk, Shalosh matmeni Yosef and Yosef. Yosef had 3 treasures. One was revealed to Kairach, one was revealed to Antoninos, and one is hidden for the tzaddikim in the future. To understand this, we begin with the pasuk, Eyuzu al tzaddik. Light is sung for the tzaddikim. Chazal explained that this refers to the Or HaKadmon, the primordial light that originally shone from one end of creation to the other, and which HaKadosh Baruch Hu hid away for the tzaddikim in the future. Two levels of love and avodas Hashem. To understand what it means that this light is hidden, we need to understand that in the service of Hashem, there are two distinct levels of love. First level, generated love. The first love is born from contemplation. When a person reflects deeply on the greatness of Ein Sof, when he immerses his intellect in the exaltedness of Hashem, this contemplation gives birth to emotion, a yearning, a passion, a fiery desire to cleave to Him. This follows the rule, if Yisichlei Yehul Alish, a person's emotional response follows in his intellectual depth. This love is a new creation, something that did not exist before the contemplation. Second level, hidden love. There is, however, a second kind of love called Ava Mesuteres, a hidden love. This love is innate in the divine soul of every Jew. By its very nature, the soul longs to return to its source and root in Ein Sof. But this love exists in a state of concealment. When contemplation brings it out into the open, this is not a new emotional birth. The love was already there, it was simply hidden and now has been revealed. As explained in Tanya, when hidden love emerges through contemplation, it is not created by the intellect, it is uncovered by it. This is the meaning of the statement, when wine enters, the secret emerges. Here, Soid refers to hidden love. The Yain Shel Torah refers to the contemplation, Yain, inner wine of Torah. Through contemplation, hidden love flows outward into revelation. Why hidden love is higher? Even though generated love feels powerful, after all, it is a new emotional birth, hidden love is actually higher. Why? Because its root is loftier. Generated love comes from intellect. Hidden love comes from the essence of the soul, far beyond intellect. As Tanya explains, when hidden love is revealed, it is called Ava Rabba, a great love, which stands above Avos Olam, a love born of contemplation. Yosef and the hidden light. This brings us to Yosef Atzadik. Yosef represents Ava Rabba, the hidden love embedded in every Jewish soul. His root is extraordinarily high. Yosef is identified with Yesod, hinted in the phrase Yud Sod, the inner secret. This is why the pasuk says Ohr Vayigash. The primordial light Ohr HaKadmon was hidden specifically within Yosef, and from him it is sown into every Jewish soul. It exists there as a seed, concealed, waiting to be revealed. This is why the light is described as sown rather than revealed outright. Zer says, "Hi Ohr Zaralek Kajabrichu beginsa de Eden al Yudei Hatzadik de Iu Ganano de Ginsa." This light was planted by Hashem in the Garden of Eden through the Tzaddik, who was the gardener of the garden. The Ginsa, the garden, refers to Malchus, the source of Jewish souls. The gardener is Yosef, who draws divine flow into that garden. Just as a physical garden needs digging, watering, and pruning, so too this spiritual garden requires avodas habidudim, refinement, which is accomplished through Yosef. In the physical world, there are two kinds of plant growth. One, crops that are newly planted each year. Two, sfichen, growth that sprouts on its own from seeds already embedded in the earth. The second kind, spontaneous growth, is called sficha da'ada de mekayme ada. It is what truly sustains the land. The same exists spiritually. Above, in the spiritual earth, Malchus, there are also new sowings, love born through contemplation, and spontaneous sprouting, revelation of hidden love. Even though spontaneous growth is not a new creation, it is higher because it emerges from a deeper root. This is exactly the difference between Avos Olam, love generated by intellect, and Ava Mesuteres, love revealed from essence. The latter is called Umegalmei is Dira. It grows from itself. That is, Ohr Vayigash, light already planted within the soul. Now we can understand Vayelakhet Yosef is called a Kesef. In Chassidus, Kesef represents Chesed, loving kindness. Yosef gathers all the Chasadim, both concealed and revealed, because he is the channel through which they flow. Vayaviyas Kesef Beis Pare. Pare here refers to Malchus, the revealed world, the source of Jewish souls. All Chesed is ultimately drawn down there. This is the inner meaning of Shalosh Matmenius hidden in Yosef. Arizal explains that Chesed divides into three levels. Two are revealed. One, the highest third, remains concealed. The concealed third corresponds to Chachma Bina Das, and will only be revealed Lasad Lavai in the future. That is the treasure hidden for the Tzaddikim. It is the Ohr HaKadmon itself, and Yosef, Yesod, is the one who hides it, channels it, and preserves it. So when the Torah says Vayelakhet Yosef is called a Kesef, it means Yosef gathers all forms of divine love, revealed and concealed, brings them into Malchus, the source of Jewish soul, the deepest love. The hidden one remains buried like a treasure, waiting to be revealed when Mashiach comes. That is the final treasure Yosef hid. It can also be explained that concealed chasadim and revealed chasadim correspond exactly to the two levels mentioned earlier, Ava Rabba and Avos Olam. And this is why the pasuk says that Yosef gathered all the money, Kesef, the Chesed and Ava, the Ava Rabba and the Avos Olam. He brought everything into the house of Paro, meaning both levels of chesed, concealed and revealed, are ultimately drawn down into the yichud of Zah and Malchus. There's another explanation. The word Pare comes from the root of priya, meaning to uncover, to expose. Through this uncovering, the three segments of chesed become revealed, as it's explained in Eitz Chaim. And all these explanations are one single idea expressed through different lenses. And look what it says in the Zohar in Parshas Balak, Daf Reish Daled. It says, who explains there that the primordial light, the Kadma, is drawn down specifically through the level of Yosef. David prepares the vessel for this light, as it says, in the morning I will arrange myself for you and I wait. Meaning, Yosef draws down the light, David prepares the receptacle in Malchus for it to be revealed. This now fully explains Yosef gathering all the levels of chesed and bringing them into a state of revelation. Hamaskil, Yavin, and the one who understands will understand. Your right hand from within your bosom, remove it. This refers to the revelation of chasadim that were concealed within the Yesod of Ima, now being drawn outward. It can also be explained that the money found in the land of Egypt refers to the concealed chasadim, while the land of Canaan refers to the revealed chasadim. Egypt represents constriction and concealment. Canaan represents expansion and revelation. And Yosef gathers both, integrates them, and brings them into revelation. Bir al-Hanal, to further explain what was said earlier on the pasuk Vigash regarding the idea that in the future Malchus will rise above Zah, above Zeir Anpin. This can be understood from the wording of the final wedding bracha. We say, Meheda Hashem Elokeinu Yishama bar Yehuda v'chutzes Yerushalayim. And it ends off, Baruch Ata Hashem b'samech chasen im hakala. And in the earlier bracha it says, M'samech chasen v'chala. So why is this one im and this one with a vav and? What's the difference? M'samech chasen v'kala refers to our current state, while M'samech chasen im hakala, this refers to the future, after Mehedi Yashama, after the coming of Mashiach. The reason is that there are two stages in a marriage: Eris and Nisu, in the engagement and the completion of the marriage. Now we're only in the state of Eris, in the betrothal. Because I'll say, inheritance and Meirasa, which means engagement. And even B'yem Chas, so Matan Torah was an engagement. And even B'yem Chas Nasai, which refers to Matan Torah, that was only Eris. Because although there was the revelation of Panim Bepanim, it was only the external layer of Torah, the realm of Isser V'Heter. The inner delight of Torah, the divine pleasure itself, remained concealed in a surrounding, encompassing light, similar to a wedding ring which encircles from without. In the future, however, when the Pnimius Torah, the Einig Ha'elyon of Torah will be revealed, the bond will be one of true Nisuin, as in Ba'alayach Isayach, the fully internal union. At the present, especially in Golos, Malchus receives its light only through Zah, through Zeir Anpin, who himself receives from Ima, from Bina, as alluded to in Ba'atarish Itula Imay. But in the future will be the opposite, as it says in Eishes Chayal Ateres Baila, because not safe in Bitchilason, and Malchus will rise above Zeir Anpin. This explains why Chazal say that in the future Tzaddikim will proclaim Kaddish before them. Why now we say Mizamech Chasen V'chala, since the bride merely receives through the groom, whereas in the future we will say Mizamech Chasen Im Hakala, because then the joy of the groom comes through the bride herself. This also clarifies Kol Chasa and Kol Kala. Now Malchus is in a state of silence, as in Nalamti Dumia, like a bride who says nothing while the groom declares Hayat Mekudeshes Li. But in the future, when Malchus rises and becomes a source of influence, she too will speak and give, and there will be an actual Kol Kala. For the same reason, Shemona Esrei is now Taloisa B'Chashay, it's a silent prayer, because Malchus is only a receiver, whereas in the future, when she attains the level of Mashpia, like the masculine side itself, prayer will be said out loud, with a revealed voice, the full expression of Kel Kala Vidal.